Welcome to the Junkyard News channel.
This video was intended to inform and educate the public.
Welcome back to the Junkyard News. I'm your host, Junkyard Dog, and boy do I got a story for you today. Picture this. You are a law enforcement officer. You've worked for a couple years at a police department, and to make extra money, you decide that you're going to work security in an out-of-town area to pick up some extra cash. And while you're on that special security duty, making that extra green, you meet a woman. Some flirting goes on, and you decide, you know what, we're going to have some fun. And then one day, a miraculous thing happens. This new love interest of yours gives you the greatest news you could hear. I'm pregnant. Surprise! But there's one problem. You're engaged and living with another woman back in your hometown. This is the situation Officer David McCoy found himself in. Now, according to reports, the original plan was eventually his pregnant girlfriend was going to move to his area. They were going to move in and start a family. I guess she didn't know that he was already engaged and living with another woman. So I'm going to show you a clip of the original news story that broke when this all went down.
The arrest of an off-duty Huntsville police officer, David McCoy. McCoy shot his girlfriend in the head when she told him she was pregnant. Now, sources say McCoy actually called the death in and claimed the woman shot herself in the car, but text messages on the woman's phone helped investigators pin down what they say really happened that morning. According to law enforcement sources, Huntsville police investigators who responded to the call did the initial review with McCoy before SBI was able to talk to him. The state is now handling the case since it involves a Huntsville police officer, and McCoy had only been on the force for a couple of years.
Now, McCoy, who was originally scheduled to go on trial this April, hired a new attorney. So the date of the trial now has been pushed forward to start about January of next year. McCoy is charged currently with 3 counts of capital murder, and according to the indictment dated back in March, the charges include killing a person inside a car, killing a person and or unborn child, and killing a person under the age of 14, which of course would be the unborn child. According to the testimony during McCoy's preliminary hearing, the woman, Spraggins, was pregnant with McCoy's child and came to the apartment complex because she planned to move to Huntsville. She had quit her job and moved. But McCoy was living with another woman at the time and engaged. Surprise! As I stated earlier, McCoy lived in Weston Ranch and occasionally worked as a courtesy security officer there. Investigators say that the pregnant girlfriend quit her job back in December and arrived in Huntsville around December 17th to move in with McCoy. But all of a sudden, out of nowhere, probably because of his engagement and living with his fiancée, told her, "Oh, I need more time." At that point, investigators say that Spraggins drove from Huntsville to Maryland. The investigator also described the text message exchange between the two in December where Spraggins asked McCoy what she was supposed to do. And his reply?
Kill yourself. You're too scared to do it, aren't you? You don't have the balls. Nah, you're scared. You got lady balls.
A bullet to the head sounds good to me. The plot thickens here. Now, it's claimed that eventually McCoy told Spraggins, "Oh, come back. I'm ready to take care of you." And she arrived back in Huntsville January 7th and McCoy buzzed her into the gate of the complex. Now, an investigator testified that McCoy and Spraggins went for a drive in his truck and that they had arrived back at the apartment complex at about 9:40 a.m. She also added McCoy did tell several different stories during the eventual police interview. But the last version he gave was that Spraggins got out of his truck and got into her car. It's stated that McCoy told the investigator he didn't remember how fast the shooting happened. He just remembered running with a gun up to his apartment. But what did he tell police when this all went down originally? Now, McCoy originally told investigators that he called HPD non-emergency numbers asking if they had received any shot fired calls for his area. He had already changed clothes and thrown his firearm in the closet. He told a dispatcher he had been awakened by a gunshot from a small caliber gun of some type. He then got off the phone and went down to look into the gunshot that he heard that apparently woke him up. So what it boils down to is McCoy wanted to make sure this looked like a suicide, right? And when the first responding officers arrived, one responding officer and McCoy began to look at the crime scene and found Spraggins shot in the head in the driver's seat of her car. And McCoy told the first responding officer, "Oh, I think I've seen her once, but I don't know her." And that's funny because when the responding officers were looking into the deceased vehicle, they found a picture of McCoy in the visor of Spraggins' car, which, you guessed it, made them think, okay, something else is going on here, and they took him into custody for questioning, and that questioning lasted about 5 hours. And by the end of that 5 hours, guess what? McCoy said, "Yeah, I did it," according to testimony at his preliminary hearing. McCoy also tested positive for gunshot residue, and they found a pistol that was not his service weapon, as well as Spraggins' locked phone in a closet of his apartment. But originally, remember, he said, oh, I've seen her once, I think. I don't know her. And what made it matters worse for McCoy, I don't know her, but she's got a picture of me in the visor of her car. I have mail that she sent me in my patrol vehicle that has ultrasound photos. Yeah. Sometimes you got to be thankful for stupid cops. Now, prosecutors will be seeking the death penalty for ex-Officer McCoy. And what I want to know from you in the comments is, what do you think would be the best scenario? The best disposition for this case? When he's found guilty, of course. Do you think justice would be served better with this officer getting the death penalty? Or do you think justice would be served better when he's found guilty with life in prison without the possibility of parole and be put in general population? Me personally, I'd rather him spend the rest of his life in general population than give him the death penalty. Because, you know, once he's on the death penalty, it could take years and years and years, appeals after appeals after appeals for this ex-cop to ever be put down. But you throw him in general population, and I think his life would be a living hell. What do you think of this idea? Not only put him in general pop, but on the back of his shirt, I was a cop. Front and back. Ex-cop. Or ex-police officer. Or ex-law enforcement officer. What do you think? Do you think justice is really going to be served with the death penalty? I don't think so. I personally think spending the rest of his life, however short that ends up being in general population, that would make me happy. Comment what you think. Thank you again for watching the Junkyard News, and we will see you in the next video.